morning. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's just take a moment to become present, finding a nice, comfortable seated position on a cushion or a blanket, a block, something that allows the back of your spine and the back of your neck to sit nice and long and tall, opening up your chest and opening up your diaphragm and opening up your heart. Let's gently close our eyes and soften our thoughts. Soften our eyes. Soften our shoulders. And soften our heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes now. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or a phrase to have with you on your mat and perhaps carry with you throughout the day. This morning's intention I'd like to talk about is Pitta season. Yep, we are in a new Ayurvedic season. Last Sunday was the first day of summer, and the Ayurvedic Pitta season kind of starts in the summer and goes to early fall. And Ayurveda is the sister science to yoga. It's an ancient health system dating back over 5,000 years that focuses on three doshas or energies, the vata, the kapha, and the pitta. One of the fundamental principles of Ayurveda is that our habits, our routines, and our dietary choices should ebb and flow with the seasons to create balance within our life. Summer to early fall is Pitta season, which is governed by the elements fire and water. So think heat and humidity. To create balance during Pitta season, you would offset the hot, sharp, and intense qualities of summer by adopting a softness and an attitude of playfulness. You can stay cool by emphasizing that the foods that are sweet and bitter and astringent. Sweet would be fruits like watermelon. Bitter would be leafy greens like salads. And astringents would be having more beans rather than heavy proteins like red meats. And they should be lightly cooked or raw and lightly spiced. The other thing you could do is have your movements be a slower, steady, light, and more fun. Practice whatever your usual sport is, maybe at not 100%, maybe back off a little bit, down to 80% perhaps. And anything like yoga is, you have to remember that it's not a competitive sport, so that you don't have to be like crushing it every time. And activities are best done early in the morning between 6 and 10. And then that 10 to 2 o'clock period is the time to kind of pull back from the heat. And then again, if you have things that you actively want to do, you can do them in the evening. Maybe even do some moonlight yoga. Who knows? Um, so that is Pitta season. And for us in New England, it's pretty natural. I mean, this is stuff that we normally do anyway. But, you know, places like Florida, they may get a little bit hotter, but it's pretty much hot year round. So for them to kind of focus on some of these things and subscribe to them, it might take a little bit more effort for them. Okay, so for Pitta season, that hot summer season, we have a pranayama, a breathing technique that would expel excess heat and calm the mind, such as these are two breathing techniques. One is called Sitali and one is called Sitkari. And Sitali is cooling breath. And to do that, you would curl your tongue and breathe in through your mouth and and then close your mouth and exhale through your nose. So let's try that one a couple of times. If you can curl your tongue, you feel that coolness come in, and then close your mouth and exhale. And try it again. I can definitely feel that coolness coming in, and then exhale through your nose. And then the other one, Sitkari, is a little bit easier to do in public. It's having your teeth together, and you can actually just do a big smile. And then you're breathing in through your teeth, kind of, you can make a hissing sound or not, but I don't find it quite as cooling as the Sitali, the other one with the curled tongue, but it definitely does bring a coolness in. So, and then you shut your mouth and breathe through your nose or exhale through your nose. So maybe we could do some of those while we're doing our asana practice this morning. And then for our meditation, there is a mudra that helps to relieve, to find relief from summer heat. And it's called Pitta Nashak. Pitta Nashak. And it's a little tricky to do. You would take your pointer finger and bring it down to the base of the thumb. And then you would take your ring finger and your thumb and connect those two. So it's a little bit of a, I can feel this, you know, it's not as easy as some of the other mudras, but bringing that index finger to the base of the thumb and then bringing the ring finger to the thumb and extending the other two fingers. I remember seeing Bollywood dancers doing this. Maybe they're trying to stay cool while they're doing those really amazing and uh, energetic steps, trying to keep cool while they're doing it. But I do remember seeing that kind of hand movement with the Bollywood dancers from India. So you can use the mudra, or if you'd like, the affirmation today would be, I am cool and calm. Affirmation is, I am cool and calm. So let's just take a few moments to meditate. I'll meet you on the mat. Yoga visitors this morning. voila, and all of it. We can begin our asana practice. So during Pitta season, as I mentioned, having your practice maybe be not 100% like crushing it, but there's also a few particular movements, poses that are good during Pitta season, and they would be chest openers, forward folds, and twists. So we'll do that. I think of twists as kind of like wringing out that humidity or moisture, extra moisture in you. So today's practice will incorporate quite a few of those. So let's begin by having our fingertips on the sides and do our sun breaths and chest openers. So inhaling up, and you can do the Sitali or Sitkari. Again, in practice, or in public rather, the Sitkari is a little bit easier to pull off. And then bring it down. Inhale. And then exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And we'll do that two more times. So inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And one last time. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And then let's bring our legs side by side. And we'll do a forward fold, seated forward fold, by walking our hands out as far as what is comfortable for you. And just kind of find that sweet spot between effort and relaxation. This is maybe on the relaxation part. So you have to go 51%, tip it over to the relaxation side. And then we'll kind of crab our hands over to the right, or I have my right leg out on the outside, so whichever leg is on the outside, you're going to walk your hands over to the right side. Try to get to the point where your torso is over your thigh or leg. And then we'll walk the hands back. We'll bring the right knee up toward the sky, wrapping our arm around the right knee, sending our right fingertips behind our hips. Nice long spine, twisting our torso to the right. And then we'll come back to center and switch legs. I have my left leg out on the outer side now. And then again, we'll just kind of walk till you find that sweet spot. And you'll know that by your breath. Kind of tune into your breath. Make sure it's still nice and even and flowing nice and smoothly. And then we'll crab our hands over to the left. Maybe get to the point where our torso is over our thigh. And then walk our hands back. Take our left knee, raise it up to the sky, wrap the right arm around that knee, and send the left fingertips behind. Spine's nice and tall, long, straight, twisting our torso to the left. All right, we'll release that. And we're going to roll down on our back, so you can choose your method of rolling down, either having the legs straight or bent, or express method with your hands tucked under and rolling back. This morning, I think, because we're going to end up, we'll end up a little bit that way, but I'm going to try with the legs straight out, sending my arms straight out and just connecting each vertebrae with the mat as I come down, one at a time, helping with my core strength. And I'm bringing the knees to the chest, giving them a nice hug. And just kind of rock and roll a little bit, wake up your back, wake up your spine, wake up all the chakras that run from the base of your spine up to the top of your head. And then we're going to take our interlaced fingers and wrap them around the left knee, extending the right foot all the way down to the mat, and let that foot just hover there, just a little bit above the mat, keeping our toes pointed. Both toes, left and right foot, are pointed. And then we'll reach that right foot up to the sky, keeping the toes pointed up to the sky. And then bringing them back down. And then we'll flex both feet, kind of flex both toes up to the sky, and then point them again. And then we're going to raise the right leg back up again, pointing it to the sky. And then lowering it back down so it's just hovering above the mat. And then flex both feet and point one last time, pointing up to the sky. And then back down. Flex both feet. And then point. I'm going to take the left leg and cross it over my right thigh just below the knee into reclined pigeon. And then flex both feet, interlacing the fingers behind the right thigh and gently guide it toward my chest, keeping my shoulders in contact with the mat. And then sending nourishing breaths to that tension that I feel in my left thigh. And that's another thing with the summertime, you want to stay hydrated. And that'll show up on your mat with cramps and such, that maybe you need a little bit more hydration going on. And in the summertime, more cooling water would be water made with fresh lime juice versus the traditional lemon juice. I usually do all year round, but lime juice and like a seltzer water or something that's really refreshing. All right, and then we're going to set that right leg down on the mat, keeping the left foot on the right leg just above the knee. And then we're going to guide that left knee with our right hand over to the right side for a reclined twist. All right, and then we'll bring both knees back to the chest, give them a nice hug again. And then interlace the fingers around the right knee, sending the left foot down toward the end of the mat, keeping both toes pointed and just having that left foot hovering above the mat. Then send the left leg up so the toes are pointing to the sky. And then bringing it back down. And then flexing both feet. And then pointing again. And then point, sending that left foot up to the sky. Like right foot cramp. It's got a nice little cramp going on in it. And then lowering that left foot down, pointing. And then hopefully the flex will relieve the cramp. Yes, it does. Nice. And then point again, lifting the left foot up to the sky. And then back down again. And flex both feet. And then I'm going to take the right leg and send it over to the left leg so that your right ankle's on your left leg just below the knee. Both feet are flexed. Reach behind the left thigh and interlace your fingers and slowly guide that left leg back toward your chest. And again, send nourishing breaths to that tension that you may feel in your legs. And then we'll send that left leg back down to the mat, keeping the right foot on the leg. And then taking the right knee and guiding it over to the left. A nice reclined twist. Shoulder blade should still be nice and snug in the mat. And then we'll bring both knees back again. Give them a nice hug. And then we're going to come up to tabletop. So you can either roll over to your side and come up into tabletop, or if you'd like, you can just kind of rock yourself up to a seated position. And then cross over to tabletop. Great. So shoulders are right above our wrists. Fingers are splayed out. And kind of gripping the mat. Weights evenly distributed in each hand. Knees are right below your hips and navel's tucked to the spine, getting a nice alignment for your tabletop. Then we'll take our nose and turn it to the right. And then bringing it back to center and taking the nose, turning it over to the left side. And then back to center again. Again to the right. Back to center. Over to the left. Back to center. One last time to the right. Back to center. And then one last time to the left. And back to center. Then we'll go into our cat-cows. Exhaling, rounding our back, dropping our head and tailbone down, really stretching out that spine. And then inhaling, lifting our head and tailbone up, sending our gaze straight ahead for cow. And then rounding the back again on the exhale for cat. Inhale, lift your head up, the tailbone up for cow. And just continue at your own pace, synchronizing your breath with your movements. Nice and slow and steady is one of the keys to Pitta season. We'll do a few more and then come back to neutral spine. All right, come back to tabletop. And then we're going to lower our hips to our ankles, extending our hands out in front of us, coming into child's pose. And then come back up and come up almost so that you're in, up dog, but not quite. And then we're going to bring our hips around and down again and create this circle with your hips. Extend up toward the top of the mat as far as what's comfortable for you. And just kind of like you're stirring the pot slowly and steadily, bringing your hips around. And then when you get to the top of the mat, you can reverse your direction. And if your knees are feeling a little bit ouchy, you can put a towel underneath them, or maybe not make such large circles. We'll do one full circle more. Then come all the way down to child's pose. And then back up to tabletop. Tuck our toes under, walk our hands back, coming into a squat. And then we'll push down to come up to mountain pose. And we'll line our toes up with the long edge of the mat, or straight edge of the mat. You're facing the straight edge of the mat. And then in the summertime too, it's an important time to really connect with earth. The earth is nice and cool. The grass, time to go out in your bare feet and connect with the grass. And then, stay low to the ground. Like picnics are a great thing. You just keep that connection to the earth, that cooling earth. It's another way to stay cool. So with our toes pointed to the straight edge of the mat, we'll have our legs nice and straight and strong. Knees are bent a little bit for a flex. Navel's tucked to the spine. Spine in the back of the neck and nice and long. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Chin's tucked back a little bit, creating that nice long spine. And then the crown of our head reaches up to the sky. And we'll sweep our hands up and then down, bending our knees as we come into forward fold. And then bringing our hands to our shins, flattening out the back and the back of the neck. Nice long straight line, gazes straight down. And then dropping the crown of our head down toward the mat and just kind of let our hands dangle, not touch the ground. And let gravity take over just for a few moments. And then we'll sweep our hands all the way up, bringing them up overhead. And as we bring them up overhead, we'll come up onto our tippy toes. And this morning, we're just going to sway like a palm tree would sway in the wind. So you think about those palm trees in a tropical setting with all that heat and humidity around. And they stay cool by just kind of catching a breeze and swaying around. And then we'll lower our feet to the mat, bring our hands back down, all the way back down to the mat, bending our knees as we go, lifting our hands then to our shins, half forward fold, nice flat back. And then again, sending the crown of our head down toward our mat. And sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together. We'll do a couple of supported side stretches, bringing the right hand down to the right thigh and sliding it down toward our knee. Tipping our torso over to the right. And then back up again. And left hand comes down to the left thigh, sliding it down toward the knee. Tipping our torso over to the left. And then back up again. Right hand comes down, sliding it down toward our knee. And then back up again. And one last time on the left side, sliding that hand down toward our knee. And then coming back up. Palms come together, and then we'll bring the palms back down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Inhaling, bringing the palms to our shins, nice flat back for half forward fold. And then sending the crown of our head down toward the mat. And then sweeping our hands all the way up again. And we're going to bring our hands down alongside of us. And then we're going to interlace them behind our back. We'll do a forward fold with a yoga lock, which would be interlacing your hands behind your hips here. And you can we'll pivot from the waist, and you can choose where you'd like to stop, where you can pivot from the waist and maybe stop when your body's in this L shape, extending your hands and arms out. Or if you like, you can bring it down to a forward fold, sending your hands all the way up to the sky. Your choice. And then bring the hands back down, come back up to mountain, and sweep our hands all the way up overhead again. And then exhale, bringing hands down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Hands come to our shins, nice flat back. Half forward fold. And then sending the crown of our head down toward the mat. And sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together, and palms come to heart center. And then the palms will come to the back of our hips for supported back bend. So our feet are about hip width apart. Palms of our hands are resting on our hip bones, backs of our hip bones. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Chin is tucked to the chest. And then we'll just drop our shoulders back to find that sweet spot again. A nice, even flow of your breath. Alrighty, and then we'll come back up to mountain pose. Well done. Alright, and then we're going to turn to the long edge of our mat. And we're going to bring our toes in so that they're pointing to that long edge. And maybe tuck our heels out just a little bit further. So we're a little bit pigeon-toed here. And then we're going to interlace our fingers behind our back. And again, your choice. We'll pivot from the waist. We'll come to the L shape. Or you can keep going and send the crown of your head down toward the mat, sending your interlaced fingers up to the sky. And then we'll release our hands, bringing our hands down to the mat. And we'll walk our hands over to the right foot, sending our torso so that it's in line with our right leg. And then we'll walk our hands over to the left side, and hopefully our torso can be in line with our left leg. And then we'll walk our hands back to center. And being on your fingertips, you can send your right hand up to the sky, twisting up, sending your gaze along with your hand. And then bringing your right hand back down to the mat. And then sending the left hand up to the sky, following it with your gaze. And then back down to the mat. And then slightly bend your knees, bringing your hands to your waist, and then pivot up so that your torso is nice and straight up. And then we're going to take our feet and we're going to point the toes into the corners of the mat, pulling the heels in toward the center of the mat at a 45-degree angle. So the other version of having your feet in wide-legged stance. And then we're going to do a few of our sun breaths and our chest openers. So to bring our hands up, and you can do the Sitkari breath if you'd like. So bring our hands up overhead with a big inhale. And then exhale, and as we bring our hands down to our chest, we're going to bend our knees and come down. And then we're going to open our hands up. Nice chest opener. And then bringing our hands back together on the exhale. And then on the inhale, we'll straighten our legs up and bring our hands up overhead. And then down again. We'll do that 2 more times. So you can pair it with that Sitkari breath if you'd like. Inhale up. Exhale down and bring your hips down toward the mat. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Inhale up. Straightening out your legs and exhale down. And one last time, inhale up. Exhale, come down. Inhale, opening your chest, nice and wide, opening your heart. And then exhale, close. Inhale up. And exhale, bringing your hands down. And then we're going to bring our arms back at shoulder height, pivot our feet, coming into Warrior Two. You know, my favorite pose. Sending our gaze to our left fingertips. We're going to raise our left fingertips up to the sky, bringing the right hand down. Coming into reverse warrior or peaceful warrior. And then bringing the left hand back down. And bringing the left arm to the left thigh. Swinging the right arm up to the sky, sending our gaze up to it. And then bringing the right hand down to the mat, pivoting up, coming into runner's lunge. And then we're going to bring that front foot, that left foot back, and come into downward dog. We'll pedal out here just for a moment. And then we're going to bring that left knee to the mat just behind the left wrist, coming into pigeon pose, and then sliding the right foot back, all the way back as far as it'll go. Top of the foot is down on the mat. And then we'll walk our hands back and really opening up our chest. Proud pigeon. And then walking our hands down, coming into reclined pigeon. So you can stay upright if that's more comfortable, or if you'd like, you could come and rest your head on your hands for reclined pigeon. And then we'll bring our hands back up, tuck our back toe under and come back to downward dog. And then slowly walk our feet Make a nice stroll on a summer day, bringing our feet up to our hands coming into forward fold, and then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together, and palms come to heart center. And we'll do round two. So again, coming back to wide-legged stance with our toes pointing to the long edge of the mat, maybe tucking the heels outward a little bit so we're in pigeon toe. And then we're going to interlace our fingers again behind our back. And whichever way you had your fingers interlaced, just shift them one set of fingers over so it's a little different for you. And then again, you can pivot from the waist, coming to that L shape, or all the way into a forward fold with your arms, hands extended up to the sky. And then release your hands, bringing them down to the mat. We'll walk our hands, kind of crab them over to the left side, to our left leg. And then we'll walk our hands over to our right leg. And then back to center. The fingertips on the mat. We're going to sweep the right hand up to the sky. And then back down. Sweep the left hand up to the sky. And back down. And then bending the knees. Bringing the hands to the hips. We're going to come back up to upright position. And then we're going to tuck our heels under so our toes are pointing to the corners. The heels are tucked in about 45 degrees. And then we'll do our sun breath. So bringing our hands up, and you can choose if you'd like to do the Sitkari breath with this. And then bringing the hands down to heart center, bending our knees as we go, bringing our hips down toward the mat. Opening our hands wide. And then closing them. Then inhale up, straightening our legs up. And then bringing our hands down on the exhale. Only 2 more times on that. Inhale up. Exhale, bring the hands down, lower our hips down. Inhale, opening the arms. Nice big chest opener. And then exhale, closing. And then bringing our hands and legs straight up. And then exhale, hands come down. One last time. Inhale up. Exhale down. Come down. Maybe a little further. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Inhale, open. Or up, rather. And exhale down. And then with our arms straight out at shoulder height, we're going to pivot our feet to the left or to the right. We had to the left before, the opposite direction. Warrior two. And then dropping the back arm down, lifting the front hand up to the sky, following it with your gaze, coming into peaceful warrior. And then bringing that arm down to the thigh on the front leg, sending the opposite arm up to the sky, sending your gaze up there as well. And then bringing that left hand all the way down the mat, pivoting into runner's lunge. And then we'll bring the right foot back to join the left. into downward dog and walk out your dog a little bit. And then we'll bring that right knee, placing it on the mat just behind the right wrist, sliding the left leg back, sliding it straight back, top of your left foot's on the mat, coming into pigeon pose. And your front leg could be tucked under your leg or angled off to the side to the point of what's comfortable for you. And then we'll walk our hands back, really expanding our chest in that proud pigeon pose. And then walk our hands down into reclined pigeon. And we'll bring our hands back up, tuck the back toe under, and come back to downward dog. Then we'll bring our knees to the mat, coming back to tabletop. Pivot around. And we'll cross the legs behind us and gently walk our hands back so that we come into a seated position. And we're going to roll down, so you could choose again your method of coming down to the mat. I think I'm going to choose express this round. So just tucking my hands underneath, rolling back. And then just rock back and forth. Give that lower back and spine a massage. Maybe make some nice big circles with your toes. Going one way. And then the other way. And we'll do a few rowboats. Get in our boat on a summer's day and go out rowing a pond or lake. So bringing our hands to the tops of our knees, we're going to extend our arms all the way. And then opening the knees to each side, bringing the soles of our feet together. And then guiding our knees back to our shoulders. And then closing them over our chest. We'll do that a few more times. So extending them all the way out. Opening the knees each side. And then guiding the knees back. And closing the knees over the chest. Really kind of have that awareness of each juncture and how it feels in your body. So extending the arms all the way out. See how that feels. And then opening the knees to each side, bringing the soles of your feet together and really feel the connection of your feet to one another. And then guiding the knees back to your shoulders. Really feeling that stretch in the lower back. And then guiding your knees together over your chest. We'll do that 2 more times. So extending the arms out. And then knees open to each side. Guiding the knees back to the shoulders. And then closing them over the chest. And one last time, extending them out. Knees open to each side. Knees come back to the shoulders. And then back to the chest. Then we'll send our arms out at shoulder height and drop the knees to the right. And when they've landed, you can gently send your gaze to your left fingertips. And feel that twist in your torso, that ringing out, if you will, I mentioned at the beginning. And then bending your knees up to the sky, bringing your head back to center. We'll drop the knees to the other side. And when they've landed, you send your gaze to your right fingertips. And then bringing your head back to center and lifting your legs back to center. And sending your feet down to the bottom of the mat, preparing for Shavasana. So send your feet out to the corners of the mat and let them just relax gently. Open up to each side. Pretend you're out in your yard on an old blanket or picnic blanket and just kind of lying there in the grass, sending your gaze up to the sky, watching the clouds drift by. It's something we used to do a lot when we were kids. I don't know how often we're doing it anymore. And just find the different formations in the clouds and see if you can recognize any critters or any objects. Just have a lovely summer afternoon. And for this morning's reading, I have the Summer Solstice Blessing, and the author is unknown. It's the midsummer's evening, the shortest of night, where our planet is blessed with the greatest of light. The sun at its power, sharing its wealth, with the earth glowing in abundance and health. The trees' leaves are green, the birds are in song. The days are as warm as they are long. We honor the animals, the plants and living things, the sun and the water, and for the life that it brings. May you find well-being and may you find peace in days after solstice, as the sun does decrease. May the blessings of the solstice be yours, I pray, and the light warm your heart and soul every day.